I really enjoy you just slowly spinning. Wait, here.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, I broke it.
This is where it's supposed to be pointed.
Oh. Nah, I broke it. Or more accurately, I fixed it. So you broke it again.
I am destroyer of chairs. Ruiner of dreams.
I've had this chair for years.
And you don't sit in it like a gremlin like me. You sit in it like a normal person.
I don't know. You've seen me play TFT. I do sit in it.
Yeah, but when you play TFT, you turn it into a bed and you just get as flat as you possibly. Oh God, I'm gonna die. And you just get like down here. You spread your legs out in every which angle, but you're not like gremlin. You're just like flat, right? For me, in this chair, oh, scary. I sit in the chair like a gremlin, and now I'm facing this way.
I fixed it once. I can fix it again. Nope,
There I go. There I go. And I'm over here. Well, that's just how the fucking chair goes.
Too bad you gotta face the mic.
Ah.
Oh yeah, it's definitely turned the wrong way again. Your blanket's all wrapped up in it.
Oh no. Oh, jeez. All right. Hello. Hi, how are you?
The air quality is unbreathable outside.
That's correct.
Much like Fallout.
Yes.
Which is what we're here to talk about.
The show, Fallout.
Alright, you ready? There are no notes. Like
There's
most
no
of our
notes. We're fucking winging this shit.
Most of our TV shows are just us winging this shit, so. Fallout is also cursed on this channel, so it'll be a miracle if this records and gets posted. It'll be a fucking miracle.
Try 100%.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have anything like clever or snappy. I tried to come up with something and my brain just locked up and I just heard like a dial tone in my own mind for 30 seconds there trying to figure something out for the start of the show.
Oh no, the TV is buffering. That's not this TV show.
TV show. One we already did a podcast about.
Are you gonna make it?
Nah, man. It's all over.
For anyone who's listening that thinks James sounds a little bit rough,
it's because I am.
We have the worst air quality in Texas right now.
That I've maybe ever seen.
Yeah, it's like a 150 on the air quality scale, which is unhealthy for humans, for any living creature.
It's like any old day in Los Angeles, just worse.
Yeah, it's bad. No one should be outside in most parts of Texas right now. Mainly your urban areas of Texas. But yeah, it's rough, and James went out and did yard work today.
Like an idiot.
He tried
like an idiot.
You tried to scoot it in when it was still moderate quality, but
it's not good enough, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But that's not what the fuck we're here about.
No, but it does tie in because the air in Fallout isn't good to breathe either. So, same, but different.
I mean, kind of, sort of. All right, listen up. We have a system when it comes to doing podcast episodes about television shows, especially if we do them about single season television shows. So what you're going to have right now is going to be a 4-episode rundown on the TV show that came out in the year of our Lord, 2024, Fallout. We're going to cover in this episode the television episodes 1 through 4, the end through the ghouls, and then in the next episode we'll cover the past, which is episode 5, through the last episode of the show as of this date, which is sometime in May 2024. So let's get into Fallout, the TV show. Now, for a brief period of context, the show is being spearheaded by Christopher Nolan's brother Jonathan, as well as executive producers of the Fallout games. Now, the show itself is set in a canon Fallout universe, but it does not follow any story that is pre-existing in the Fallout universe. It's its own thing, and to be honest, the video game series set itself up very nicely to have holes for other video games to fill, or for other stories, books, whatever, what have you, to fill in the overarching universe plotline, right?
Which honestly is pretty cool because if you think about it, it's not like doing The Last of Us or something of that nature where it's like there's already a specific storyline that you're trying to adhere to.
Right.
You can kind of make up your own world or your own story within the world that already exists,
Which is exactly what they did in this show.
Yeah, which is cool because it's a lot less likely to piss people off when you do it that way.
Correct. And as a result, you wind up with a TV show which on IMDb, not the most premier rating system, but on IMDb sits at an 8.5 out of 10, which is remarkable.
That's honestly what I'd give it.
I mean, it's a very, very good show.
It was good. I didn't think I was going to enjoy it, and longtime viewers of our actual channel will know that Fallout is pretty much cursed for us.
Every time we try to play a game, the technology shits itself.
So it was kind of, I never really got to experience Fallout other than I think you had me download the little Vault game app.
Yeah, you played the Vault app
for a little bit.
Yeah, whatever the name of it was. I don't remember the name of it, but I played it religiously.
Which was fun, but I have a hard time keeping up with those games. So I didn't know a lot about Fallout going into this show.
And I think, the nice thing about the show is you don't have to actually know shit about Fallout because they really fill you in on like the most important details in side bits, little one-liners that give you context as to what's happening. And you really don't need to know the nitty-gritty, but the show does make you want to get into the nitty-gritty. Fun facts for you. After the show came out on April 10th, player counts on Steam for basically every Fallout game spiked. Like astronomical upgrades in player count.
I heard about that, and then I heard they released like patches to the games because of the spike, and it broke a bunch of stuff, which is about on par for Bethesda. So
listen, Bethesda does story good. It does video game questionable.
Which is interesting when that's your main form of
story so good, video game so questionable.
But yeah, no, I think what's nice in comparison with our last episode on this channel, which was Dune, it is true. You don't have to have an extensive back catalog of knowledge to just jump into this. Like, it gives you the main information, which is information that I did already have from the one game that we did attempt to play on this channel. There is a bunch of vaults where basically rich people can go.
Yeah, pretty much.
And there is a nuclear apocalypse. People that are in the vaults for a certain amount of time. And then generally one survivor of the vault ends up leaving and going and exploring the wasteland. And that's about the extent of like the knowledge you need to have to understand Fallout. And vault tech is bad. The end.
Yeah, basically. So we start episode 1 following Walton Goggins as his non-ghoulish character Cooper Howard at a birthday party with his daughter Janie. And throughout the birthday party you get a lot of front-loaded context. Clips from news broadcasts, clips from radio.
A lot of foreshadowing.
A lot of foreshadowing. It's very heavy. It's very on the nose. If you do not know anything about Fallout, it might feel too on the nose. It might feel too heavy-handed. But if you have an understanding of the corruption that exists within the powers that be in the Fallout universe, then none of this should feel heavy-handed or cringe. It's like the most subliminal sort of foreshadowing that there is, really.
And I wouldn't even say that it feels heavy-handed to me, and I'll be the stand-in for your like not
your non-context.
Yeah,
node.
your non, because what it felt like to me was a lot of if you've seen the movie Don't Look Up, which is
great movie.
A great movie, very social commentary, that's heavy-handed.
Yeah, true.
But that's what it reminded me of, because it's the mom basically going around, she turns off the radio, she turns off the TV when like the newscast is on. It's very much like a blinders on, like we're not going to pay attention, we're just
very intentional blinders on.
Yeah, it's very much like that whole thing of like, no, not today, everything's fine today.
Yeah.
On the day it was very much not fine.
Yes, which is proven to be true when after a few minutes of birthday party activity, Cooper is explaining to his daughter what the thumb rule is in terms of explosions. Why is your thumb sideways? What the hell? That's just for the video podcast. What is wrong with your I've been married to you for so long. What the hell's wrong with your thumbs?
Gino,
why are they like that?
My cousin Gino used to make fun of me because we did like a thumbs up in a graduation photo one time.
Yeah, and you point way off to the side.
And
it's like your thumbs are broken.
My thumbs don't go straight.
You can't, how do you not? I mean, you're weird. All right. I love you, you little oddball. So he's explaining the rule of the thumbs, and that's a fun little rule about if the mushroom cloud's bigger than your thumb, well, you're probably fucked. And in the meanwhile, she asks for a piece of cake. He goes to get her cake, and as he's returning with the cake, she's holding her thumb up, pointed off screen, and you go, oh no, this is it. The bombs, they're dropping. And sure as shit, Los Angeles becomes glass.
She also says like a really sad line, which is just like, is it your thumb or mine? And he turns to look, and it's just already fucked.
Oh, it should be no one's thumbs. The answer is no one's thumbs.
The answer is we're done.
So you get a little bit of context that Cooper was a military man prior to being an actor, prior to playing kids' birthday parties. So he's had a bit of a career up and down. But we go from watching the bombs fall on Los Angeles to the future, 219 years later. So that's 219 years post 2077. You can figure that math out for yourself. I'm not going to do it for you.
And we meet Lucy.
Meet Lucy McLean in Vault 32, who is doing a bit of voiceover.
She was 33. But Lucy's in 33.
Yes, they're in 33. She's trying to make the proposal to be married to someone from Vault 32.
Which is what they do to prevent incest.
Well, they just do incest anyways, but not as a means of procreation.
They very much make it clear that they do the incest, but you can't have babies that way.
They are fucking each other's cousins all the time.
Yup.
With great frequency, but never for the purposes of procreation.
And it's not
only for the purposes of practice.
They literally
and fun.
They literally say it multiple times. It's not like
I'm so done with cousin stuff, dude.
It's not like a little, oh, you can interpret it that way, or there's some subcontext. No, it's literally like they say it like multiple fucking times.
No interpretation. They're fucking each other. So this is a series of vaults that you have not experienced yet in the Fallout canon. It is Vault 31, 32, and 33.
Which is, they're connected, and that's unusual.
It's deeply unusual. You can walk from one vault to the other vault to the other vault to the other vault. It's a triangle of vaults.
Specific times when the doors get opened.
For reasons. So in this instance, it's an every 2-year thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah, it's an every 2-year thing. There's a trade that happens between Vault 32 and 33, in which they exchange goods and, on occasion, individuals for the purposes of not deeply contaminating the gene pool for procreation.
They literally call him a breeder.
Yeah.
He's a breeder.
And he's going to come over to Vault 33, and they're going to give Vault 32 grains and seeds and crops and shit.
Corn.
Yeah, corn.
Specifically corn.
Potatoes. So we kind of get rushed through the prep for the wedding and then this brief wedding ceremony, and we meet the overseer of Vault 32, who is Lee Moldaver, and the Vault 32 folks, who are a bit odd and bedraggled.
They're a bit rustic.
I don't even think rustic's the correct word. I think bedraggled is the correct word.
All I have to say is I watched this, I was watching this and I turned to James and I was like, oh God, and I'm going to give a huge spoiler to what we're about to talk about, but I was like, oh God, it's going to be like a red wedding. Like, I just have red wedding vibes all over this shit. It's going to be a bad time.
And so then everybody died.
And then sure, it was a fucking red wedding after a very weird sex scene, and he cleans himself off on the curtains. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's what happens. And then there's a red wedding.
So, yeah, pretty much. They have a short wedding. Lucy does not know how to talk to people. What's your sperm count, bro?
Okay, in her defense, if this was a normal breeding exchange, that's probably like a normal behavior to have, because like they're literally trading for the specific purposes of
Procreation.
breeding. And she even mentions that in her little proposal to be the person to like go and be the exchange partner.
It is kind of like the whole letter's like this humble brag about how good my genetics are and how good I am at everything.
Yeah, she's like, look at me, and I like all my genitalia works. Like I'm ovulating on regular schedule. Like...
I'm in mint condition. I'm good to go. And to top it all off, not only am I a good shot, I'm horny. So they go, oh, great. And they approve it, and we have the wedding. Then there's a massacre. Now, this happens because the folks from Vault 32 are not Vault 32 inhabitants. These are raiders from the surface, which Lucy finds out post-coitus upon grabbing her Pip-Boy off the shelf, aiming it at her new hubby, and finding it to just rocket off the charts in terms of radiation.
After she hears some
screaming in the vault.
And her brother had, in the context of while she's getting laid, basically, her brother had gone into Vault 32 just out of pure young curiosity.
Pretty much.
And seen that
all their crops were decimated.
And all their people are dead, and not dead like recently, like dead for long time dead.
Yeah, well, so he only sees the one guy in the chair.
That's all you need to see.
That's definitely all you need to see. But when he in a later episode, revisits the vault again, it's much, much worse.
No, I was just talking about the one chair where he goes and he's like, okay, crap's dead.
Guy dead.
A really dead guy.
Very big problems. So...
But it's too late.
The brother hustles back. Lucy gets into a fist fight with her new husband.
A brutal one, too.
It is a vicious fight. And it's definitely, like, sort of out of the blue, because everything in the show up to this point is kind of campy. It's pretty mild. There's not really any language. It's a lot of, like, world building and lore and stuff, and then out of nowhere, much like the video games, there's just a sequence of truly brutal violence in which Lucy loses the fist fight, then wins the fist fight, and rips the jaw off her husband.
They both make the classic problem that I have when people get in fights in entertainment and not making sure that the other person is dead.
No one double taps anyone.
He stabs her and just like leaves
the knife there.
Yeah, he's like, cool, you're gonna die now. And she grabs a fucking broken ass pitcher and slices his face open, and she's like, cool, you're gonna die now. And neither of them are dead.
Yes. So following that sequence, Lucy gets a stim pack, heals herself up, and heads off into the vault to figure out what the fuck's going on. At this time, the residents of Vault 33 are engaged in a all-out fight with the residents of Vault 32. who are raiders.
A stim pack, for those of you who do not know anything about Fallout, is basically this all healing like needle that you can inject in yourself, and it basically stops. And to my understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, it basically doesn't heal you, but it stops like the wounds from getting worse. Like it slows your bleeding down and gives you a bunch of adrenaline so that you can kind of power through the till you can get more medical attention.
You're kind of correct.
Okay.
A stim pack greatly accelerates the human healing factor.
Okay.
So it's like giving yourself a temporary Deadpool power.
Okay.
It basically forces you to heal really, really fast.
I just knew she still had to like staple her stomach later, so
it's very much like it's like you said, it's like a temporary solution to a serious problem or a permanent solution to a minor problem.
Got it.
So that's basically what the stim pack does. So she juices up, heads off into the vault. When everyone's getting fucked up in the vault, there's some great lines, some fun dialogue. The sequence is kind of just like unhinged in its entirety, and it's really good television.
It's also like very gory and brutal.
Yeah,
like
it's nasty.
You see at one point someone gets like a police baton, for lack of a better word, like shoved, or is it the hilt of a gun? Something shoved all the way through their mouth and their skull. And then you see
someone gets a fork in the eye.
Someone gets a fork in the eye. It's just a lot of gore.
Yeah, it's a lot of gore. Lucy acquires a dart gun, basically an emergency dart gun from the armory that shoots a dart that kills you in a moment.
I don't think it kills you.
You think it just incapacitates?
From my understanding, because they're not big on the whole killing thing, I think it just is, and they use it on the dad later. It's just like a tranquilizer. It just puts you out, which is why there are still people to put into the cell later.
That's fair. That's fair. So it'll drop you, but it's a dart gun with drugs.
It's a very big tranquilizer. Down.
So Lucy basically fights her way to where her brother is, hides her brother. Her what should have been dead husband reappears, nearly gets the better of her, and her dad, a bastard of a man, Hank McClane, arrives, bonks that guy over the head with a shovel, and then drowns him in a pickle barrel.
Which is just doubly brutal, because if you remember, he's got all those cuts on him, so that's got a sting.
Yeah, he's basically missing his jaw, which is just an open, gaping wound.
So vinegar into cuts while drowning.
Nasty. Then some of the residents get sort of rounded up, and I'm going to get into the knights in a minute, but I want to like do all of the vault first. Some of the residents get rounded up and held hostage. Moldaver baits Hank and Lucy
and gets real cryptic real fast.
They stick Lucy in a closet. They kidnap Hank, and then they blow up the
door
entrance between the two vaults. All the raiders disappear. The few remaining residents of the vault scurry back into the vault after being basically traded for. And the bomb goes off, and then that's sort of that for now. In another part of the world,
we meet main character number 2.
And that is, what's his name?
Maximus. I fucking hate him.
Right, Maximus is a basically young guy who is a part of the Brotherhood of Steel. You
really struggled to find the word young and guy.
Yeah, I want to say the word neophyte, but that's not really what he is. He's basically bottom of the barrel in the Brotherhood of Steel. He's an aspirant. That's what he's called. He's an aspirant in the Brotherhood of Steel who basically wants to become a knight in the Brotherhood of Steel.
Don't worry if you don't know what aspirant means. It doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter. The Brotherhood of Steel does matter. They're a huge faction in the Fallout franchise. And they are basically a bunch of old dickheads looking for old technology to keep safe, quote unquote, kind of like how the English stole everyone's shit and now keep it in a museum. So we meet Maximus. He's having just generic basic training boot camp woes. He gets beat up by all the motherfuckers that exist there already. He has one friend. His friend gets called up to be a squire to a knight. Everyone celebrates without him.
He gets real angry.
He gets real angry. And then his friend, a bunch of the knights show up actually, basically to acquire their new squires. And his buddy Dane takes him to see the power armor because they find out where it's stored, which is dope. Then Dane becomes the squire. And the next morning, after everyone parties except for him, Dane is injured gruesomely with a razor blade stuck in the back of their boot, which just shreds the back of their calf tendon. Is a gruesome, horrifying injury. Everyone basically places the blame on Maximus. He gets interrogated by the leader of the Brotherhood, or at least that chapter of the Brotherhood, and it is determined that he is going to be taking Dane's place as a squire, which is exciting for him. He gets branded by his knight, who is Knight Titus, and he gets to set off with Knight Titus to hunt down a guy who is a former member of the Enclave. We will talk more about him in the next episode.
Listen, there are a lot of gruesome things that happen in this show.
The calf injury is maybe one of the worst.
I cannot. I have really weird things about the Achilles tendon ever since that guy used to lay under women's cars and like that was his means of incapacitating them, was slicing that. So that whole scene is the worst scene that I see probably in this entire show. I cannot watch it anytime. I wasn't expecting it the first time, which was awful. And I can't even like hear about it or talk about it too much without just like immediately like my whole entire body is just goes into fight or flight mode so fast. Mainly flight.
So that all happens. And in another part of the world,
we meet main character number 3,
the Ghoul. And actually, we've met him once before as
bum.
Man with an actual nose, Cooper Howard. Now, Coop's been alive for 219 years through the means of extreme radiation and magic juice.
That's about the only explanation you're going to get for that.
Because Fallout is allowed to do whatever the fuck they want, and no one can tell them no, and that's fine. Coop is just referred to as the Ghoul. He is sought out by several other bounty hunters who basically dig him out of the ground because he's being held sort of hostage like a dog on a leash. They free him from his bonds. They make one too many incorrect comments about him, and he kills everybody.
Not even hard.
He makes it look easy. And we will soon find that Coop / the Ghoul has the best lines in the show for forever.
And the entire internet has already fetishized him, and it's weird.
He's just the shit. Walton Goggins puts on the performance of a fucking career in this show, and he does a goddamn good job.
All of the acting in this show is, like, really well done for being, like, such a strange universe. Like, you don't get... There's not a moment where you're, like, cringe because the acting is bad or anything like that. Like, it's such... good performances, especially from your main 3 characters, Lucy, Maximus, and the Ghoul. Like, everybody is just putting on a really good performance the entire time that just makes you so immersed and invested in the story.
So finally, at the very end of episode 1, we're gonna have to speed run the next 3 episodes because we talked a long time. Well, the first episode's very long anyway. But at the very end of the episode, Lucy, with help from her very horny cousin and her brother, abandons all rules of the vault and gets in an elevator, gets to the top, and having been denied permission to go and search for her dad, as the vault residents would rather sort of try to work their way back to a status quo, having had their numbers vastly reduced. Lucy says, fuck that shit, I'm going after my dad. And she leaves the vault.
Wildly unprepared.
Deeply unprepared, very foolish, but that's the story of Fallout is a vault dweller leaves a vault after some inciting incident or for some reason to find something, and it's just very classic, very familiar Fallout, and it's good. It's just good.
It's like the summary of every Fallout game I gave at the beginning.
Correct. So that's the end of episode 1. Now, we start episode 2 with another one of the most traumatic scenes in the show, in which a clearly pretend, but very implied to not be, puppy is incinerated in an oven. This is happening at the behest of the Enclave, and we meet Dr. Wilzig.
It's another scene that you are not prepared for in any way, shape, or form.
It happens.
No warning.
So it happens so fast you can't. If you don't know it's gonna happen, it happens, and you're confused, and then you're horrified, and then it's over, and you don't know how to feel about it.
You know how to feel about it. It's bad. No good
fair.
feelings.
Wilzig doesn't care for this and saves a dog.
Particularly a very good dog.
A very good dog, yeah.
Like one that's like, because they're basically only keeping
dogs that weigh over a certain amount.
The best bred dogs to breed to do the whatever the fuck they're going to do.
Yeah.
And so he finds one that's like properly healthy, and he's like, "That's my dog."
Well, he fudges the numbers too.
Yeah.
To save the dog. We get this montage of him working on something, and then he injects this blue device into his neck, right behind his ear.
While he's raising the dog in secret in his apartment.
Yes. Another scientist shows up at some point, discovers the dog. The dog understands its role, which is to be a secret dog, kills that
scientist. That's not what happens. The scientist starts to... Well, he goes to pull the alarm, and then Wilzig attacks him, and then the other guy attacks Wilzig harder, and the dog goes into protect mode.
Belgian Malinois, man.
And fucking destroys that guy and like
kills that guy very quickly.
No time flat.
So Wilzig needs to be on the run. This is all context for why the ghoul is hunting him. That's what the job the bounty hunters from the previous episode brought to him. That's why the Brotherhood of Steel is hunting him, is because he has some piece of tech. Hint, hint, it's the thing he injected into his neck, which we'll talk about in the next actual episode of CityWavesCinema. And Wilzig and the dog escape the facility. Now, in the wasteland, Lucy runs into Wilzig after being a dipshit. She lights a fire, falls asleep by the fire. Wilzig and the dog basically sit there, and Wilzig talks to her cryptically, but basically encourages her to fuck off back to the vault where she came from because the world is dangerous and problematic. The dog kills a rad roach.
That was gonna attack her ass. And
Lucy basically learns her first lesson of the wasteland, which is you need to fucking get different or die. We cut to Maximus and Knight Titus, who begin their search. Knight Titus is
a dick.
He's just a dick. And he continues to be a dick the whole time. They happen upon a cave where we see Wilzig had showed up a little bit prior. Maximus is made to explore the cave in advance of the man wearing the power armor, which is a shitty move. Maximus doesn't find anything, turns around, and bing, bang, boom, the biggest mutant bear rises up next to Knight Titus, who cries and panics like a little bitch.
Like, his whole thing was they didn't go to their exact location.
Because he was bored and wanted to shoot something.
So they dropped them off early, and then he turns into a little bitch baby at the first chance of fighting anything.
Correct.
Like, there's not a lot of likable characters in this show. Which is kind of the idea of it, is that the world makes the apocalypse and the way the world is makes you not such a great person.
Yeah.
Because you have to do what you have to do to survive. But there are ones that are worse than other ones, and Titus is one of those.
Yes. Titus gets his shit rocked by the bear a little bit, and then begs Maximus to kill it. Maximus finally, after an eternity of indecision, does shoot the bear, kills the bear in one hit, which is so unrealistic, but it's maybe the most unrealistic thing in the show. Kills the bear in one hit. Then Titus continues to verbally berate him while asking for help with medicine. Just very deeply mistreats Maximus. Maximus then decides he's just going to let Titus bleed out and says, "You're not worthy of that armor." Lets him die and steals the armor. Lucy.
Which is not a good thing.
No, it's not a good thing. Lucy gets to the town of Philly, in which she is hunting for Moldaver because that's who took her dad. She happens upon a shopkeeper who is one of the funniest characters in the show.
So good.
So mean.
Such
so
a
mean.
good scene.
And gets sort of turned away and made fun of for being this deeply naive vault dweller. And the themes are laid on pretty thick that like she's very naive, doesn't know what she's doing. It's sort of like a very well-educated person being in an environment that disregards almost all of that education. And she just sort of is there getting bullied around. Wilzig arrives, and at the time that Wilzig arrives, the Ghoul makes himself known in Philly, having tracked down Wilzig almost immediately, showing he is, in fact, one of the baddest to ever do it.
Yeah, it took him 0 time.
Yep, he was actually there before Wilzig got there.
Yeah.
There is an ensuing shouting match. The Ghoul shoots Wilzig's shin off, takes his leg off completely. A huge firefight erupts in Philly, in which many of the residents fire on the Ghoul. Most of them miss, some of them hit, but the Ghoul doesn't give a fuck because he's the Ghoul.
He literally like can't die.
He's close to not being able to die. The lady from the shop is in charge of getting Wilzig to Moldaver. Strikes up a deal with Lucy to get this man to Moldaver in order to sort of fulfill the shopkeeper's bargain, as well as get Wilzig to safety.
As well as have a negotiating chip for Lucy to get her dad back. Like, everybody wins here.
It's a deal where everyone wins. Wilzig has a robot foot sawed onto his leg. It's very gruesome. The Ghoul wins the firefight, and then Maximus arrives, threatens the Ghoul. They get into a scrap, and it's maybe the other part of the show that's just not believable, especially having seen the last episode of the show, where the Ghoul fights Brotherhood of Steel Knight in power armor and just doesn't win outright.
Well, because the Ghoul doesn't win, or because of the power?
It's unrealistic because the Ghoul doesn't win. And it's only unrealistic because the Ghoul doesn't win because in the very last episode of the show, the Ghoul fights a squadron of guys in power armor and mops the fucking floor with them.
I think he was having fun. Because I think he could tell by the way that Maximus was using the suit that he didn't really know what he was doing. So I think for a while there, he's kind of just
toying with him,
holding back and letting him get some hits in, and really just toying with him because, I mean,
the Ghoul is what everyone wants to be in this game, which is an unkillable, unstoppable, wisecracking force of chaotic good.
Yeah.
And it's such a fun character to watch and relate to. But yeah, I think that's a good perspective, is that maybe he's just letting Maximus do what Maximus is trying to do. Noting his deep inexperience in using the armor.
Because in the once he does say, he's like, yeah, there's a flaw in the armor, and he like exploits that, it takes him like 2 seconds to really fuck with Maximus, because Maximus also gets his foot stuck, and he makes a comment, he's like, wow, you really don't know how to use this thing, and then he just like does some shit. Yeah. Maximus gets fucked up and
damages the power armor.
Yeah.
He doesn't actually fuck Maximus up, he just disables him.
He damages the power armor, I guess is what I mean. Yeah. Maximus in the fight is done. Because he can no longer fight.
So the episode ends with...
Oh, and he saves the dog.
The Ghoul saves the dog?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because the dog attacks the Ghoul shoots the dog. In a moment in a scene, once again, it's one that sneaks up on you so fast. You don't expect it to happen. It happens. The ghoul one taps that dog. I mean,
Out of self-defense.
kills that dog. It's in self-defense, but it's because he shot Wilzig's leg off.
But Cooper loves
him some dogs.
Like more than anything.
People.
Well, obviously most people like dogs more than people.
Fair.
But he loves dogs, so he feels bad, so he heals the dog, makes the dog okay.
Yeah, at the end of the episode, heals the dog. Then we cut to Lucy and Wilzig hucking it across the wasteland, trying to get to a point in Southern California somewhere, because that's where the whole show is set. Wilzig recognizes that he cannot go on farther. His injury is far too gruesome. He's lost too much blood. He can't hang. So he ingests a cyanide pill and tells Lucy that she needs to get his head to Moldaver, who will know what to do with it. And she goes, what the fuck? And he goes, yes, trust me, just do it. And then he gives her a small handheld chainsaw and dies. And she
says her catchphrase, which is okie dokie.
Her okie dokie catchphrase, and cuts his head off. Now, we get to episode 3, which is tongue-in-cheekly referred to as the head.
It's a lot about this severed head.
Yes. So, in this episode, we start, sort of, with Maximus being radioed by the Brotherhood, who's trying to reach Knight Titus. Knight Titus, he's dead, in case you forgot. Maximus successfully convinces them that he is Knight Titus, but he does a bad job of it, and they send him a new squire, which turns out to be his former jerk-off friend, / bully, Thaddeus, who believes Maximus is dead.
And Semi feels bad about that.
In the meantime, he also has people try to steal his power armor, sells a tooth to get Caps to fix the power armor, and gets his shit rocked by the guys who are trying to steal his power armor.
It's also something to be noted that Maximus has severe head trauma throughout the entire fucking show.
Oh yeah, he gets his head hit like 35 times throughout the show, and it's deeply problematic. So in the meanwhile, where are we? Lucy gets got by a gulper. Now, a gulper is basically a small school bus sized axolotl with fingers on its tongue and inside its mouth and on its face and sharp teeth, who eats everything, and the fingies are there to sort of drag stuff inside.
Yeah, I guess he doesn't have sharp teeth. It's more just the fingers.
It's lots of fingies. She gets got, loses the head. The ghoul shows up with the dog, discovers that Lucy's lost the head, incapacitates her,
and uses her as human bait.
As bait, yes.
On a string.
The ghoul doesn't give a fuck about nothing, and it's a problem. Uses Lucy
Not
as
for him.
bait, gets the gulper to show up,
also fails.
But fails to get the head and loses all of his chems, which he uses to keep himself alive in the process. In the meanwhile,
he takes Lucy prisoner and basically makes her start walking, because they're gonna have to
go find the immediate task for him is to find more chems. The next task is to find the head. In the meanwhile, Maximus and Thaddeus head to the same location that Lucy and the ghoul just left, where they are able to kill the gulper, get the head, and get the dog, who was hanging around waiting for his master.
Yeah, the dog is fiercely loyal
to the head, and nothing but the head.
Which is the head of his master. Like, he is fiercely loyal to his master, and once the master is only a head, then he is fiercely loyal to that head.
And then eventually to the ghoul later.
Yeah, he does eventually transfer loyalty, but he is loyal. Like, that dog is the most loyal being that has ever existed, ever.
Correct. So, we also get treated to one of the greatest phrases spoken in a Fallout game franchise, what have you. in which Lucy is trying to explain the golden rule, which we all know: do unto others as you would have them do unto you, to the ghoul, who explains that in the wasteland we have our own golden rule, and it is thou shalt get distracted by random bullshit every goddamn time. Which is, if you've ever played a fucking Fallout game, the God's honest truth.
Or any open world RPG, really.
Yes, you are perpetually distracted by side objectives that you need to complete to make your main objectives easier. And it's just a tongue-in-cheek reference to the video game series, which is so fun.
There are lots of really tiny nods to the video game series throughout the show, that if you don't know, it doesn't affect you either way. But if you do know and you are a big fan, it's really cool little Easter eggs that get thrown in throughout pretty consistently.
And I got to be honest up front here. This show...
Up front meaning 43 minutes into this episode.
Correct. This show is just so in depth on everything. They really did a good job not leaving very many holes for you to go, well, what about this? What about that? Everything gets explained, unlike some other shows where things do not get explained. But in this show, everything gets explained eventually. You just have to wait. And it's just really, really good and worth watching. And there's so much more that we're not even going to mention. We're really just covering the basics of it. And if you find any of this remotely interesting, please get on Amazon. If you have Prime, it's free, and watch all 8 episodes. It'll take you 8 hours because they're averaged out at around an hour each. And it is just a phenomenal piece of television history.
Easy binge.
Well, it's a long binge, but it is easily bingeable. Very engrossing. Now back to the show. We cut to 2077, back in time to before Cooper Howard was a ghoul, and he is a celebrity. He's an actor. He's kind of a diva on set a little bit, but because he has a sort of sense of right and wrong and morality.
He's really into his established character, and like,
yes,
when you've been playing a character for so long, you'll hear interviews of other actors saying similar things of like, I'm not doing that because it doesn't make sense for my character. The one that comes very quickly to mind is, if you don't know, there was a plot line originally in Friends that Chandler, Matthew Perry's character, was going to have an affair against Monica, and Matthew Perry shot that down. He's like, it doesn't make sense for Chandler, and the audience will never forgive him if he does this.
Absolute facts.
And so when you've been playing a character for so long that you kind of already know them as much as you know themselves, like yourself, it's real. You do get that personal like attachment to them and fight for them, which is what we see Cooper doing here when the showrunners basically give him some questionable guidance of how they want the story and the character to go, and he said, I don't want to do that. That doesn't make sense for him. That's not who he is.
In the end, he does give in and he shoots the scene the way they want, but it's the beginning of a sort of moral decay of Cooper Howard.
His rose-colored glasses are getting cracked slightly, ever so much.
At literally every scene that you see 2077 Cooper Howard in, he is just getting chipped away at. He's losing his morality, his ethics. He becomes this incredible badass.
His faith in humanity.
His faith in humanity. He really does have a permanent downwards trajectory into turmoil and insanity. But at the same time, that's accompanied with the perk of being an invulnerable bad motherfucker.
I will say, though, and I might argue against this, I don't think so much that he's losing his morals. I think, moreover, he's discovering that the world around him is losing their morals. Like, you can really see him start to see the cracks in his marriage, the cracks in his job, the cracks in the government, the cracks in all these people that he's surrounding himself with. That he strictly is like, this isn't right, this isn't right, this isn't right.
Until he's killing indiscriminately in the future.
Well, eventually, but in the past...
He killed so many people in Philly.
No, I'm saying eventually, like, like survival takes over. But I'm saying in the past, I don't think that we see his morals be corrupt. I think that happens later, that we don't see in between the then and the now.
Sure, but what I'm saying is it's the start of his decay,
Yes.
if you will, which is a double entendre because he literally decays throughout the show.
Yes.
And so this is just the start of it. Now he becomes the celebrity spokesperson for Vault Tech. Now, if you don't know, and how could you not know, Vault Tech is this mega corporation in the Fallout universe America that basically owns everything and sells everything. Think of it like that corporation in WALL-E that killed the planet. It's
by
like
and large.
that. Yeah, by and large. It's like that. They also built almost all the vaults that we find in the show. There are a few made by competitors, but we don't really talk about those. Vault Tech is king. And Cooper,
they also they make your tech, they make your Pip-Boys, they make everything that you pretty much see in the universe.
Cooper gets convinced to become a celebrity spokesperson for this brand, this company, at the behest of his wife, who is a high level executive within Vault Tech. And that's sort of where episode 3 ends, is Cooper becoming the real life version of the Vault Boy that you're so familiar with in the video games and otherwise. And finally, we get to episode 4, which we're going to run through, and then we'll end this episode. You come back in the next episode for more. This episode is referred to as the Ghouls. And we start here with Norm, who
Lucy's
is
brother, who we never named.
Right,
Sorry.
Lucy's brother. He's played by Moises Arias, who does in a role where he didn't really need to act so goddamn hard. He acts so goddamn hard. He works his ass off to be just the most believable little brother rascal bastard he is.
I was like, he really does tread the line well of unlikable to, but also very likable character, throughout the entire show.
It's almost every character does that, but he does such a phenomenal job. And Norm has an exchange with a captive raider that he doesn't really care for, and he decides he's going to go back to Vault 32. And so he gets his cousin Chet, who was the horny cousin from the first episode, who also helped Lucy escape, and they scurry off to investigate Vault 32, where they discover just an absolutely horrifying event occurred in this vault, in which all the residents died or were killed. They're scrawling messages in their own blood on the floors and on the walls.
They were fighting each other. It was a lot.
It's a lot, and it's horrifying.
The vault's destroyed. There's not really anything left.
And they discover on the Overseer computer in that vault that the raiders accessed Vault 32 with his dead mother's Pip-Boy, which is a big shock. And it's a really interesting plot point because it's played off to be this enormous, holy shit moment. But it doesn't actually have that effect on your first watch through, because there's nothing known at this point about Lucy and Norm's mom. We just know she's gone or dead. We don't know. It's
just kind of a mystery of how they have her Pip-Boy.
Right. But the moment itself is played with the score. It's played with the camera angle, the zoom, the focus. Everything about the art and the medium implies this huge oh shit moment. But you don't have the context on the first watch through to understand why it's an oh shit moment. So it feels a little weird the first time you see it. The second time you watch it, having watched your way through the whole show, holy shit, it lives up to its moment. And I think that's a really clever thing to do in terms of production, is to have a replayable moment that is only replayable if you watch the whole show or the whole medium. If you don't watch the whole show and you don't understand the full context of the dead mother's Pip-Boy being used to access the vault, it's sort of like a weird little mystery that doesn't have a real place. But if you watch the whole thing, it's literally an oh fuck, this is crazy moment. So let that sit with you if you want. If you haven't watched the show, it's well worth watching all the way through to look back on some of those moments and go, oh my God, that's crazy.
And James is not wrong. He's talking about one specific moment, but there are lots of moments throughout this show that are very much like, you go back and you go, oh, got it. Like,
yeah, the show is written and scripted in such a way that it demands replayability. And for the purposes of it being Amazon, I think that's kind of skeevy. But for the purposes of it being Fallout, oh my God, it's just so great because people have constantly replayed Fallout games. Fallout New Vegas is probably one of the most replayed games in history. And this show emulates those moments in the games that make you want to play it and play it and play it and play it over again. The show does the same thing. And I think that's a really, really good decision in terms of the executive producers to have it emulate its predecessor. So upon this incredible discovery, we cut to the ghoul and Lucy, who is still his prisoner.
And basically dying.
Rapidly deteriorating due to her dehydration, her immersion in the highly irradiated body of water. Pardon me.
Hungry.
She's hungry. She's thirsty. Life sucks to be her.
She's also
Christ.
missing a shoe. She's missing a shoe.
Stolen by the Gulper.
This entire time. So she's just walking around the desert wastelands 1 foot barefoot.
Now they run into one of the ghoul's friends, Roger, who's a ghoul on the brink of going feral. He is in great pain, trying very hard to maintain his humanity and his sanity and not give in to basically this hunger, this internal personality that turns ghouls into less than humans. And they have a brief exchange, and ultimately Coop, as the ghoul, takes it upon himself to put his friend out of his misery. Roger almost asks him to do it without asking him to do it, and the ghoul obliges, kills him, and immediately starts harvesting what good parts of his body there are for sustenance, which is a definite survival thing.
Butt jerky.
Point. Yep, ass jerky. This deeply upsets Lucy, and basically her whole time outside the vaults has been watching horrific things happen everywhere she goes and having bad things done to her. After that, he and Lucy head off to a supermarket, which is occupied by a gang of organ harvesters who take Lucy in exchange for a bunch of vials of chems, which do not get delivered to him quite fast enough, and he collapses outside the store. Now, Lucy is taken inside and tended to by a what's the name of the fucking robot? God damn it. It's the most popular. It's Mr. Handy. That's what it is. By a Mr. Handy robot. And the robot has basically long outlived its life cycle. It's gone completely insane and rogue.
It gives her a new finger.
And then
tries to kill her.
Tries to harvest her organs. She escapes the robot, damages it significantly,
uses it
to basically hold the organ harvester guys hostage. Lets go all the ghouls that they had in captivity.
Bad idea.
Which is a terrible idea, and she's still operating under this naivete that people should be trying to treat each other well. And that's not a bad mindset to have necessarily, but there's context of the wasteland that she does not have that should be influencing her decisions, and it simply isn't. And she lets loose all these fucking ghouls. Unfortunately, a handful of these ghouls have already gone feral, and they are released and hungry. So they attack the harvesters and Lucy. They kill the harvesters, who kill some of them back, and there winds up being one remaining who charges at Lucy.
Lucy has to take her first life.
Who has to kill the ghoul in a tragic moment for her. She is splattered in blood and is like traumatized all over again. But she's got a gun and she doesn't have to deal with the organ harvesters anymore because they've been killed. Mr. Handy has been dismantled, basically. And she steals a bunch of chems from them and ski-daddles.
Gives them to the ghoul on her way out
Yep.
and rolls off.
Abides by her code, gives the ghoul the chems, fucks off. The ghoul heads inside.
After revitalizing himself.
Yeah, after revitalizing himself. And he sits down. Does he do it in this episode, or is it the next episode where he sits down and watches the show and reminisces? I feel like it's in the next episode.
I think it's in the next episode.
We'll treat it like it's in the next episode, but the ghoul enters the supermarket and no, you know what? He does enter and he sits down to watch the show, and that's where the episode ends. He puts in the movie that we see Cooper making at the beginning of the episode, where he's going to commit an act of grievous violence on another actor. And he pops the tape in to watch, plops down on the couch, and just sort of sits there and starts to reminisce. And that's the end of the episode. And that's going to be the end of our first episode on Fallout. If you're watching us live, we'll be right back in a moment to record the next one. And if you're listening to us in the podcast, stay tuned for the next episode where we will finish the Fallout Season 1. By the way, they're already confirmed for a Season 2, and we are stoked about it.
I think there's going to be 3.
Probably,
total.
yeah.
I think that's what I heard, is there's 3 total.
Well, I'm excited. I'm very excited. So tune in next time for another episode on Fallout. I have to go.
We also don't have a vote because y'all voted for Wonka last time. So we'll be right back. But enjoy this break. Go get a treat. Go get a snack. Like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Not to sound like every YouTuber, but it really does help with the algorithm. So it takes 2 seconds to hit that like button. And we will be right back. I'm bored and we're waiting for James. So, here I am. I'm also waiting for my smoothie to melt. I don't have a lot of patience. But everybody here knew that. How's it going? How's everybody doing? I do need to save the last episode. Can you move that? There we go. Good? Everyone good? I know Green Gorilla's had a bad time. Or Sebastian. What the hell is ESO? Is it Elder Scrolls? I don't know what ESO is. So much multitasking. I was right. Ha ha. I do know shit. I'm glad you guys have power. I was worried about you. I saw the tornado was really close to Temple, and I told James to text you right away because I got nervous. I'm glad that you guys are okay. The power grid text is bad. I'm surprised it didn't take longer. There's people in Houston was still without power from the storm last week. A little over a week ago, I guess. I keep hearing weird noises in the darkness. It's freaking me out. Melt faster! I'm sure this is all entertaining content for everybody. We're just waiting for James. What to talk about? What to talk about? I mean, I talked about a lot of stuff last stream. 3 new Bendy games that we want to play. Kindergarten 3 is coming out. Nugget is excited. Nugget likes the kindergarten games. And the Pretty Lily. James wants to play Planet Crafter. We got over being sick. Yeah, no. And then James is going to be gone next weekend, so we won't have a recording next weekend. Because he'll be attending his brother's wedding in Colorado. I cannot go. For a multitude of reasons. 1, my health with baby. 2, no dog sitter. 3, money. In that order is basically how that went down. Actually, no, the no dog sitter was what really did it in, but I don't know where he's at. Aries? Uh, um, so yeah, that's about that. That's what we're doing. Uh, Next time we're gonna watch Wonka to continue our Timothy Chalamet movie. We watched Dune last time. If you haven't listened to or watched that one, can't listen to it yet because James hasn't put it out yet. He should be putting it out here either in the next couple days. Um, and then I forgot what I was thinking about. Yeah, go listen to the. You can watch the Dune recording here on YouTube though, so you can watch it, just not listen to it yet. I mean, you can listen to it. Oh, there's Aries. Hi. I was wondering where you were. Um. So yeah, we're gonna go see Furiosa tomorrow. It's our dating anniversary. We'll have been dating for 9 years, and we are going to go see Furiosa because the tradition is we always go see a movie and have Italian food because that's what we did on our first date. So we are going to go see Furiosa, which I couldn't. I'm going to see it because I promised James we'd go see it at Alamo. I don't. I don't care, but I get the popcorn that I love, so it's a win for me. I'd see a lot of movies to get that popcorn. Um, and I enjoy the Alamo. What else? What else? What else? Not really, that's it. Kind of been boring around here lately, which is nice for a change. Smoothie. And we're just waiting for James. Waiting, 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 waiting. Waiting. Let's see. Let's see what else is going on in the world today. The air quality in Austin is so bad, which we kind of talked about at the beginning. It's like literally toxic. I can kind of show you guys what it looked like earlier today. If you don't follow me on the social medias, but unhealthy. Unhealthy bad. So your power just flickered? No. No. I have trauma ever since the first freeze, so losing power or water like really stresses me out. So I am very sympathetic and anxious for you because it's one of those things that you don't ever really think about or worry about, like a very first world privileged mindset until you don't have those things, and it really gives you a fucking reality check. Like I have I legitimately have PTSD trauma response from the freeze anytime we don't have power, anytime we don't have water. It's just immediate, so fast for me. Like, or I can't. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that you guys are going through that. I'm sorry the Texas power grid sucks. Fuck Greg Abbott. I'll say that on here. Um, yeah, I'm genuinely very sorry. I hope that it stays on. Cause that's your AC too, and it's hot as fuck right now. That's just everything. Ugh. Do you guys have like a backup generator, or you running solely on the grid? Ever since the first freeze, James has talked about getting one. The fridge is better than nothing. Ugh. Losing food too. You gotta keep the fridge closed so that like you can save as much as you can. It was awful. Fuck the fucking power grid, man. I'm so sorry. I'm glad that you can at least keep the fridge running and have food. That's another thing too. I know that you guys already had some food go bad, which sucks. I am very, very sorry. Because, like I said, I have nothing but sympathy for you. We're talking about why the Texas Power Grid and Greg Abbott suck.
I joined at the perfect time. Fuck that guy and fuck all this shit. I was keeping it together so well as long as I was talking. Dude, it's like every time you took over to talk, I was like,
I was wondering why you were steamrolling so hard.
It's because as long as I was going, everything was all right.
That's my performance switch. I hold on to that.
Holy shit. All right, give me one moment to skim through here real quick.
Right here.
Max and Thaddeus.
Maximus does dumb shit.
Get stuck, Lucy. And
the summary of the next 2 episodes is Maximus does dumb shit. You also missed a lot of me trying to melt my smoothie.
Oh, I should pull mine.
Yeah, yours is. It's almost frozen salt. It's like not quite. It's in a good stage to. Oh, okay.
You didn't pull it out for me.
I didn't know if you'd want it. Last time you let a smoothie sit in there for like a week. Having a baby inside you feels like a weird alien. Pregnancy fact of the day. That's the only way I can describe it. Are you ready, kids?
5, 6, 7, 8.
Are you good? Are you happy right here?
Yeah, all right. Let's rock and roll.
3, 2, 1.
Hi, welcome to CityWavesCinema. I'm James. That's America. Welcome to Fallout Episode 2.
We did not introduce ourselves or the channel last time.
Don't worry about it.
Our apologies.
I'm not apologizing for shit.
I will, because I didn't realize it till you did it just now.
It's fine. Now, if you listened to the last episode, we covered the first 4 episodes of Fallout Season 1.
And America realized that for all our TV things that we've been doing, we've been labeling them really poorly.
Nah.
It's gonna lead to problems later down the line.
Good thing I can edit things retroactively. Now, let's talk episodes 5, 6, 7, and 8, the finale. We haven't checked in with Maximus and Thaddeus for a hot minute.
Good.
They've been getting on like gangbusters. They've been having a grand old time, traipsing around. Maximus is sort of like politely bullying Thaddeus around, enjoying his role as the guy who can bully Thaddeus. And he gets too comfy. Maximus gets too comfortable, and he decides to unveil his true identity as not being Knight Titus and being Maximus to Thaddeus.
Because Thaddeus tells like really a sweet story and kind of like gives some backstory to his life, and that makes Maximus grow a heart, which makes him forget a brain for a half a second.
Yeah.
Maximus does dumb shit.
Yeah. The character of Maximus is a great counter to Lucy, because Lucy's naive in every way except for the vault. Maximus is naive in every way except for the Brotherhood. He has no concept of like a peaceful existence. He has no concept of people unifying and trying to help each other. Everything he's ever known has been disaster and distrust and competition. And everything Lucy's ever known has been just cooperation,
Happy, good, lucky
happy,
times.
good, nice times.
Other than when her mom died.
Other than that time, yes. But the arc for Lucy is a lot easier to like swallow, if you will, as she maintains the best parts about herself, but also becomes a formidable force in the wasteland.
Best parts, quote unquote.
I mean, her moral compass remains untarnished, and
okay.
her
morals are important, I guess.
Her perpetual positive outlook.
See, that's what bugs me about her.
It stays steadfast until the very end, when she accepts that there needs to be a healthy dose of cynicism to balance the perpetual positivity.
I really don't do well with like cheery fucking people.
I know. Maximus has a sort of different arc here. He goes from being just everyone hates me fighter to I need to grow up and take responsibility for as much as I can do in this world. And he really does sort of grow up and become better as the show goes on. But I think they set him up for a deeper character growth arc in season 2 based on the finale.
Oh, 100%.
But he definitely doesn't grow as much as Lucy. But he unveils his identity to Thaddeus, who becomes enraged. The two have a little bit of a scrap. Maximus accidentally steps on Thaddeus's foot, crushing it underneath the power armor.
Is it an accident?
Kind of. It's not like he's trying to kill him. He's trying to stop Thaddeus getting to his power core, which he fails at. Thaddeus gets the power core, disabling the armor, and leaves Maximus in there basically to die.
You can't get out without the power, which is a flaw in the fucking
huge flaw
system.
Huge flaw in that armor. Thaddeus then disappears into the horizon with the head of Wilzig, the scientist, and the dog CX-404, otherwise referred to as Dog.
He does get the name later.
Dogmeat?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the ghoul calls him Dogmeat.
Yeah.
After a brief time, it's like 12 hours, Lucy finds Maximus on the brink of doom and destruction, saves him from some rad roaches.
She's not doing so hot herself.
She's super not. Gets him out of the armor, and then passes out due to what Maximus claims is radiation poisoning, which is absolute fact. She's been highly irradiated the whole time.
Accurate.
He hooks her up with an IV and some Radaway that he has on hand. And the two decide they're going to team up to get the head, which will help Lucy get her dad, and then Thaddeus can take Maximus can take the head to the Brotherhood, and all will be well.
Radaway, for those of you who don't know, is a basically cure-all for radiation sickness.
Yep.
in the Fallout universe, which is kind of implied by the name, but also James just dropped it so quick I wanted to make sure that if you didn't know anything about Fallout, you understood right along with me.
Terrific. So, the pair head off. They stumble upon the ruins of Shady Sands, which was a small city in the ruins of Los Angeles that was sort of thriving post-war. We don't know too much about it other than it also got bombed. And we know that Maximus is from there, and it got bombed after the initial bombs dropped.
2 bombs. 2 bombings.
Yes. And Maximus survived and was rescued by Brotherhood of Steel Knight. As they carry on filling in backstory, Max and Lucy come to a bridge, and on the other side of the bridge are 2 fiends who are cannibals in the Fallout universe. There's a...
Not technically. They're cannibals in the show, but fiends are not exclusively cannibals in the Fallout universe.
That's fair.
I learned that from my breakdown of Fallout. I don't know that from any prior knowledge.
So there's a brief extension of peace and words between the 2 groups, which is all lies. Maximus is deeply distrusting. Lucy is over trusting. They try to cross the bridge. When they get too close to each other, the fiends eye them and get hungry. Maximus sees them and wants the gun so that he can take care of this problem they're running into. The fiends draw first and fire, having lied about being unarmed. They hit Max. Max grabs the gun from Lucy, kills both fiends because he's, military trained and supposed to be able to do this shit. In the meanwhile, Lucy is just too horrified at the fact that she got lied to. The naivete is strong with this one. And that's just how the exchange goes. Max inspects their bodies and finds that they have some makeshift weapons, and a pipe gun is what they used to shoot at him that was loaded with rotten teeth. So he got hit with a tooth that is now in his shoulder.
They go
gross.
to a doctor.
It's very gross.
Well, they don't go to a doctor.
They go to search for medical supplies in an abandoned Vault Tech building that used to be a med building. And they fall into a trap, sliding down a vent into Vault 4. My apologies.
Which makes Lucy so happy.
It does make Lucy very happy because she is now safe in an environment that she is familiar with. We flash back to Vault 33, our home base, if you will, in which an election has just occurred to elect a new overseer, and Betty Pearson wins with a 98% majority.
Because she's from Vault 31.
Yes, and the slogan, as we have learned over the course of time, is, if you don't know, vote for someone from 31. It doesn't cool. The way I said it doesn't rhyme, but the fucking phrase they say one whole time in the show rhymes.
Shoot.
When things look glum, vote
when
for
things
31.
look glum, vote for 31.
Yeah, so they elect Betty Pearson, and Norm finds this suspicious. He sneaks off and hacks into Vault 32's central computer, and he finds out that every overseer that there has ever been for Vault 32 and Vault 33 came from Vault 31 originally, including his own father.
Which they tell is basically like how it's going to be with Lucy in 33 to 32, like it's an exchange program. But if you ask anyone from Vault 31 their memories about the other vault, they just say the potatoes were better, I think. Which is a little like...
It's very culty.
It's a very nugget to let you know that something's not quite what it seems as far as Vault 31 goes.
Yeah, it's definitely hinting at some problems. Betty then makes a general order that they are going to divide the population of Vault 33 and take half of them and stick them in Vault 32 to repopulate it.
And they put Lucy's friend / another Vault 31 person in charge of the new vault.
Yes, she gets elected the overseer of that vault. She is also she's a tertiary character and a side character, but she a few episodes back was the only person to back Norm when Norm said they should kill the prisoners from the raid.
It's also to be noted, like now, do they go into Vault 32 now? Yeah.
No, I think they do it in the next episode.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll wait then.
Honestly, I'm really not sure.
I'm like looking for it in our little overview here, and I don't see it. So I'm going to talk about it right now because we're talking about the transfer.
Go for it.
Vault 32, if you remember, was destroyed.
Completely annihilated.
Bodies everywhere. And in the course of like 48 hours,
it is completely cleaned up.
Pristine.
Not a trace of problems.
Beautiful. New stuff, new tech, everything's repaired. And this is one of the only holes that I'm assuming they will get more information about later on in the series.
Yeah, this is just straight up not explained.
Yeah, we don't know how any of that occurred or happened or where they got all this shit.
And truthfully, the only reason that it's like okay that this is something that's not really explained is because we're seeing everything from Norm's perspective, basically. He went there with Chet, saw it all fucked up, came back, they made the vote that they were going to repopulate it. And so when they go through to tour it, it's totally fine. And Chet is also confused, but doesn't really question it. He's sort of a coward. He's not really one to like try to figure out why this has happened, but it drives Norm crazy. And it's very telling that we're supposed to be feeling the same thing that Norm is feeling here. It's unexplained, and it's very intentionally going to be left that way. We're not going to find out why, at least in this season.
Yeah.
I certainly hope we find out why later, or how, or at least it's mentioned somehow.
I just want to know how they repaired the vault so fast.
I really don't understand how. But it's not super pertinent. That's basically the end of that episode. This episode 5, is kind of a lot of sort of plot being
it's really
founded
setting up the end of the season.
It very much is the changing of the guard from we've started the show, we're right at the midpoint, so we're going to set up the end of the season. We move on to episode 6 called The Trap, in which Lucy and Max are greeted by a Shady Sands survivor who is now living in Vault 4, where they have fallen into, as well as the Vault 4 overseer. And they explain that Vault 4 opened itself up to the surface and took in refugees from Shady Sands when it was bombed, as well as the surrounding area.
Maximus is loving Vault life.
Yeah, to be fair, he deserves a break. Maximus has had a lifetime of hardship and misery, and for the first time, people are treating him very politely, very kindly. He's very suspicious of them at first, but he warms up quickly and
once they give him nice food.
They straight up just give him like food and nice clothes, and he is just head over heels in love with the Vault life. At the same time, we watch a switch occur. He's suspicious to start, and Lucy is super open to it. And over the course of the episode, Lucy gets very suspicious of the Vault, and Maximus becomes entirely too trusting of the Vault, to the point where we definitely see like reasons for Lucy to be suspicious. There are a number of residents with some
abnormalities.
Abnormalities is a very polite way to say completely fucked up mutations. We're talking extra noses on their foreheads, single eyes, weird tentacles coming out of their face. It's crazy shit. And we're really going to spend a lot of the episode here in Vault 4. And Lucy just keeps getting weirded out by everything that's going on, by the residents, by the way they talk about stuff, by the way that they say we're not going to level 12 in the Vault. It's forbidden.
There's kind of a cult.
There's a weird cult, but that doesn't happen until the next episode. Well,
no, it happens.
Does it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? You're right.
They worship the Flame Mother, who's Moldaver.
Right, which is weird. And
another thing that will not be explained in this season. We don't know why she's called that.
We also don't know how Moldaver's here. Because we find out at the end of this episode that Moldaver lived in Los Angeles.
Yeah, she was part of the Shady
in
Sands.
2077. Back when Cooper Howard was Cooper Howard, 220 years ago.
We learned she's in the past. We learned she was in the past. We learned she was also part of Shady Sands. And she's still fucking here.
Right. This will not be explained in this season. It's probably going to be explained next season. But yeah, we're very confused about who Moldaver is and how she exists here and what the fuck she's up to.
Well, we do find out a little bit about who she is. It's more just how the
fuck did we get here?
Yeah. But yeah, so Vault, cult, weird. And then
Lucy has had enough. She's going to level 12.
Yeah, she's gonna go investigate the one place she was told she cannot go. Which she finds when she gets up there, she finds it's just full of weird experiments, especially experiments on pregnant women and their babies.
Right. Vault 4 is a vault that now, if you're not unfamiliar with the Fallout universe, the vaults are not their primary function is not to be Fallout shelters.
They're not for safety. Sorry about it.
That is what they are advertised as, but the reality is they are meant to be social experiments run by Vault Tech.
Yep.
And they're
all different.
They're all different. Vault 4 is a vault that's, for most intents and purposes, normal. However, its occupants were, the majority of them were scientists, and the experiment in Vault 4 was to see what would happen if scientists were the overseers, and what would happen if they were left to their own devices with no oversight on their science. The result of this is a shitload of genetic mutation experimentation, resulting in the residents being experimented upon, killed in various ways, and horrifying things occur to the residents here. It's
also implied that they're kind of responsible for making the gulpers.
It's not even implied. It is proven fact.
Yeah.
So it's implied to Lucy that level 12 of Vault 4 is forbidden. So naturally, she goes to level 12, where she discovers a sort of rundown but still functioning science wing, and she discovers the horrific experiments that occurred here. She discovers that they made the Gulper, who was then birthed by a human woman, and then the Gulpers ate their mother alive, because that's what they do, is they eat everything. It's deeply, deeply disturbing, and she is caught in level 12.
Lucy sucks.
She sucks at a lot of things. She beats the fuck out of like 6 guys before they take her down.
She has good combat skills. She's not so great at the stealth or charisma or logistical thinking.
Now, it is then explained to Lucy later that over the course of time, the Vault Force citizens fought and killed the scientists who were running the vault, and now they live in a sort of pseudo-peace, although they're still weird and culty.
And they still have pregnant women in tubes.
They do still have that, but because the overseers are not scientists at this point. I mean, Chris Parnell plays a Cyclops overseer of this vault, and he is deeply upset about the experiments that had gone on. I am opting to believe that the citizens and the overseer and the people in charge of the vault are keeping those people on ice, basically, in order to try and parse out how to save them from a potential horrible fate, while committing the rest of the laboratory space to dust and ruination by not using it for anything at all. After all, that level is forbidden to be entered in the vault, besides like important vault personnel. So they're not using it for its intended purposes any longer. The vault is now officially like a, in theory, safe place to live. It's supposed to be a happy community.
I don't know about any of that.
You can say that, but that's everyone there is chill.
They have a cult.
They do have a cult, but it's kind of a harmless cult. In the meanwhile, we flash back to 2077 to hang out with Cooper as he slowly becomes more and more conflicted about his wife's job. Being between movies, he has a lot more time to think, a lot more time to interact with his wife, and
a lot more time to be around.
Yeah. He's more present, and in being more present, he grows more and more suspicious about what the fuck she's been doing at Vault Tech. He is also invited
by his friend,
another actor, to go to a quote-unquote communist meeting. It's not an actual communist meeting, but it's close. In which a bunch of people meet in secret at a funeral home to discuss the rapid degradation of their government and ways that they can solve the problems. This is spearheaded by one Lee Moldaver.
It should be noted, because I don't think we talked about it, in the Fallout universe, life progressed up to like the 50s and then just kind of stopped. Like, technology kept going, but like
it diverged from our reality distinctly.
Yeah, culturally and everything, the 50s is kind of the era in which it exists in.
Yes. And at the time, in 2077, the Americans are fighting the Chinese in a war that the name of which escapes me. It is a war that Cooper Howard is a veteran of, having since retired to become an actor. So, Cooper goes to the meeting. Their conspiracies are discussed about Vault Tech, and Moldaver tries to get Coop to spy on his wife.
For the purpose of, like, just revealing the truth to himself. I don't think...
She wants information from him, but she also wants him, because he's the poster boy for Vault Tech at the moment, she wants him to join them, and the way she's going to go about it is getting him to understand how fucked Vault Tech is by having him listen into what his wife has been up to.
He feels very conflicted about this.
He's very conflicted about it. And you know what? Mad credit to Walton Goggins for not only putting on an outrageously good performance as the Ghoul, this swashbuckling, badass cowboy motherfucker, but also putting on a phenomenal performance as Cooper Howard, the actor turned spokesman for Vault Tech. And he just does a really good job.
Yeah.
And that's the end of episode 6. We move forward to episode 7 called The Radio. In this episode, we go back to Vault 4 to find that the residents have very politely decided that they are exiling Lucy to death.
Which just means get the fuck out.
It's a very slow death because they're going to provide her with a shitload of sustenance and send her up to the surface to let her be free to the elements. This will satisfy the Vaults demanding she be killed.
And Lucy doesn't want to be there anymore anyways.
Lucy wants out anyway. So they sort of prep her for that. Maximus
did not get the memo.
Yeah, he also misunderstands the whole scenario, steals the Vault's power core, charges up his suit of armor, and basically ransacks the going away party for Lucy, destroying much of the area and injuring many individuals, before Lucy calms him down and explains that she's basically being invited to leave.
They leave the vault, and she makes him give the power core back.
Which is sort of the start of Maximus's redemption arc. Although it's odd to have an arc of redemption start in the next to last episode, I think it's really the groundwork for his character arc to come to fruition in the next season.
Yes.
So they fuck off from Vault 4. In the meanwhile, Thaddeus, our fucked up footboy, abandons the dog, sticks him in a fridge.
Why?
Because he's a bastard. And tries to head off to make contact with the Brotherhood. He also takes his boot and sock off to find out exactly how completely crushed to jelly his foot is.
I'm surprised he was able to walk as much as he was, like, all this time.
Gruesome.
His foot is bad.
It's
one of
very bad.
It's one of the other moments where it's like there's no preparation, and then you're just looking at it, and that's just what you're left with.
As he continues on, he meets a character who is referred to as the snake oil salesman. He's been around Philly and the surrounding area a few times in this series.
He was gonna fuck a chicken.
He did fuck chickens. And he's just this eccentric jackass who hawks herbs and potions. And
radiation.
Yeah. So he hooks Thaddeus up with this incredible gift, quote unquote, which is a serum that he injects into Thaddeus that basically insta-heals his foot. However, it's a fuckload of radiation, and it almost immediately turns him into a ghoul. Or it immediately starts the process of him turning into a ghoul. So, it does, though, fully heal his foot, which is wild to watch.
He doesn't understand that he's a ghoul yet either. He just thinks that he had a wonderful gift.
What does he give up for it? Does he give up Radaway? He gives up something that is common to him but extremely rare in the Wasteland, and I can't remember what it is in the trade.
It's not important.
It's not important, but you can tell he loses that trade. So he rushes off to try and make contact with the Brotherhood because he's got the head of the guy he was hunting for.
He successfully contacts the Brotherhood.
Yes, he does. He successfully contacts the Brotherhood at the radio station.
And just kind of waits.
And then he just hangs out, yeah. Lucy and Maximus eventually catch up to him, discover that he is turning into a ghoul.
Because he takes an arrow straight through the neck.
And does not die immediately. So they convince him to swap the head for a chance to escape the Brotherhood, because he knows if he's turning into a ghoul, the Brotherhood's just going to kill him. So they basically turn Thaddeus loose into the Wasteland.
He disappears. We will not hear from him again.
Yep, he is super stoked at the forgiveness he is being shown and fucks all the way off.
Maximus grabs a different head to trick the Brotherhood and sends Lucy off with the real head to go find Moldaver in order to protect Lucy, because Maximus is starting to kind of fall for her.
Yes. In fact, in the previous episode, while we were in Vault 4, it wasn't super relevant, but they do discuss briefly having sex. We find out that Maximus is in fact a virgin, and all he knows about sex is that it's hot, wet, and then your cock explodes.
Yeah, he really has no concept, and Lucy is still horny and is like...
And she's kind of like well-versed in it because of its reproductive
And she practiced a lot.
Yeah. So when they get to Vault 4, she's like horned up and he's fucking scared of sex because he believes that your cock will explode.
If anyone was also wondering what that noise was in the background, it was James messing with his straw.
They won't hear it after I edit it.
But in case you do, it was James messing with his straw.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so they're starting this little romance, and
then they immediately split.
Lucy also offers to let Maximus come live in Vault 33 when this is all Vault 33 when this is all over.
She has no idea what's been going on at Vault 33.
They split, and
the Brotherhood rolls up, picks up Maximus, and Lucy continues on. Meanwhile, we flash back to the vaults where Norm breaks into Vault 31, having communicated with what is left in Vault 31, or whatever is there, the overseer there. And Norm sneaks off and breaks into there, basically. And meanwhile, the ghoul...
Does he find out... He sees the brain on the Roomba.
Yes, but not yet.
Okay.
We spend all the time we spend with Norm is him creeping through tunnels, paranoid as shit, which is fair. The ghoul finds out Moldaver's location, then finds the dog, renames the dog Dog Meat, and heads out to get to Moldaver, who is at the what's the name of the building in Los Angeles?
The observatory.
Yeah, the Griffith Observatory, which is in shambles, by the way. So then we flash back to 2077, where the young Moldaver reveals that the cabal of rich bastards behind Vault Tech killed off her cold fusion research despite her figuring it out. She invents cold fusion as she used to work for a company like Vault Tech that got bought by Vault Tech. They take her research and shelve it in order to keep their war machine profitable. She reveals all this to Cooper Howard back in 2077 and convinces him that he can't trust his wife and that he should record all the meetings that she has here on out while she's at work, which is crazy, paranoid, and true.
She mentioned it before, but he kind of said no, and now he's biting now because he's had some more instances with his wife too that we're not really going to get into that has led him to believe more on Moldaver's side that he really needs to know what the fuck is actually going on.
Right. And that's basically the end of episode 7, the radio. We're going to wrap everyone's storylines up nice and neat with the final episode of season 1 of Fallout, The Beginning, aptly named.
The first episode's called The End.
Yes. Now, Lucy and Norm independently will learn the truth of the war. I'm forgetting off the top of my head how Lucy learns.
Oh, because she's now at the Griffith Observatory, and Moldaver's going to tell her everything her father did.
Right. Meanwhile, Norm talks to a brain on a Roomba.
That's literally what it's called in the subtitles.
Yep. Who is the sole overseer of Vault 31. And they will both sort of learn that Vault Tech
is bad.
Is so bad. Vault Tech, we learned this through a flashback via Cooper around the same time that Moldaver explains everything to Lucy and Norm gets talked to by the brand on the Roomba.
It's very much like a 3-part story being told by 3 different people, but when you're watching it, it's all getting thrown at you in a cohesive timeline, but you are jumping back and forth between Lucy, Norm, and Cooper in the past, learning the exact same thing, which is I'm gonna just drop the bomb.
Boo! Boo!
Vault Tech launched all the bombs.
Not all, but the first one.
No, they launched the first set.
Well, they don't have all the bombs, but they had the first one.
I'm pretty sure they launched all of them.
That Vault Tech did not have all of the United States atomic arsenal to use.
But I think they're the ones that are responsible for launching all the ones in Los Angeles, is what I'm saying.
It's unclear.
I'm gonna
but
Google.
They say they're going to drop the first bomb. That's what Coop's wife says in the meeting.
You talk about the rest of the plan that they're doing. I'm gonna Google because now I need to know.
All right. So Coop is listening in to his wife have a meeting where the heads of Vault Tech and the heads of a bunch of other either rival tech companies or associate tech companies or arms companies are discussing the vaults, what their purposes are, what the point of them is, and the other guys are hesitant to buy in until they find out from Coop's wife that Vault Tech intends to make themselves mass profitable by dropping the first bombs in the war to basically jumpstart a nuclear conflict. Because if they don't, then they simply have to wait for someone else to do it and they won't get their funding.
Okay. I'm jumping in here to clarify. We're both right. Which is one of the best cases that ever happens on this channel, because then no one does like happy yelling dances for like the next whole part of the episode. Vault Tech drops or triggered the nuclear war, so you're right, it didn't launch all of the bombs, by dropping several bombs of its own. So they did drop multiple bombs, it wasn't just one, but you're right that it wasn't all of them.
Even now in our live chat, someone who is just so much more well versed in the Fallout universe than we are explained that the bombs that Vault-Tec drops are some in America and some in China.
To really just make everybody start fighting each other.
Right. So that's what we hear from 2077 as Cooper eavesdrops. Now we're flashing to Vault 31, where Norm is talking to the brain on a Roomba. And the brain explains that Vault 31 is basically a big storage closet full of cryopods containing almost all of Vault-Tec's middle and upper management employees from 2077.
Isn't it like Bob's buddies? It's his buddies?
Yes, it is Bob's buddies. It's something that has been sort of a subplot happening in the flashbacks to 2077 with Cooper. He then traps Norm in Vault 31. And also the brain on the Roomba is the brain of Bud's buddies.
Bud,
Fun little
not
thing.
Bob.
Yes.
Bud. And he basically he gives Norm like a choice. He's like, well, you could either stay here and die, or you can go get in a pod. Your choice.
Yep. So now
We do not know how that decision ends.
That's such a great like plot hook for a season 2, is that we get Norm, a character that we kind of sort of have followed, kind of sort of have cared about, gets given this choice to either go into cryo storage or starve to death in the vault. And we don't know what he chooses, and we don't know if anyone's ever going to find him. So that's crazy and outrageous. And then we flash to the Griffith Observatory, where Lucy has linked up with Moldaver. And
gotten all this plot.
Wait, let me set the stage for you for this room, because there's so much going on in this room. Moldaver's sitting at a table with a deeply fucked up ghoul that is basically just a skeleton with a little bit of skin on it.
Having a meal.
Lucy's dad, Hank, is in a cage, and he is unhappy.
A giant bird cage, specifically.
It's weird, but he's in there, and he's unhappy. And Lucy wishes to hear what the fuck is going on from Moldaver. She also gives the head to Moldaver, who extracts the
cold fusion
little microchip or whatever the fuck from the head. So we find out from Moldaver that Rose had escaped Vault 33 with her children while they were real young, like toddler or earlier. And Rose, who is Lucy's mom, and the children went to Shady Sands, where they linked up with Moldaver, who was sort of running that joint. And they lived there for a little bit. Then Hank, Lucy's dad,
doesn't like that.
And he comes out there and tries to get them back. They get in a dispute, so Hank drops a nuke on Shady Sands.
After rescuing the children, clearly.
He dragged his children back to the vault and dropped a nuke on Shady Sands.
Because Vault-Tec gonna do what Vault-Tec gonna do.
Yeah, Vault-Tec is, by the way, Hank is a former Vault-Tec employee who we not only meet at the very end of episode 7 in 2077, but we also see his empty cryopod in Vault 31 with Norm. So we know he's a bad guy. Moldaver explains all of this to Lucy, who is pissed. Just pissed. And is very conflicted. And it is then implied that the ghoul sitting at the table with Moldaver is her mom.
Not even implied. She says it.
Yeah. And it's just tremendously fucked. Meanwhile, we flash to the Brotherhood, who discover that they have a bogus head from Maximus, who then saves his own skin by saying he knows where the real head is and he can take them to it. They forgive him, reinstate him as a battle brother, and they launch a full-scale war party to go take down whoever's at the Griffith Observatory and steal the head back. So the Brotherhood is on the way, and they roll up, and they mean business. They get there right after the announcement that Rose is this feral ghoul. So Moldaver leaves with her troops to engage in combat with the Brotherhood of Steel.
Lucy proceeds to stand there, like, shell-shocked for, like, the rest of the fucking episode.
Deeply conflicted about everything.
Some great facial acting from
Ella Purnell.
Yeah, she just does a really good job of, like, really showing how traumatized this whole thing has made her.
Without saying a word.
And just does a great job standing there. As weird as that is to say for an actor, like, it's a really powerful moment of just, like, you hear her dad yelling at her, you hear the war going on outside, like, the door, or I guess the battle, it's not really a war.
Yeah.
And you just hear her mom making ghoul noises, and she's literally just standing there, like, so completely traumatized. It's a really good scene.
Before Moldaver leaves, I should say, Lucy convinces Hank to give Moldaver the code to activate the cold fusion, which she does, and it starts warming up. In the meanwhile, Maximus shows up in the room
to save his girl.
And he sees Hank in the cage, and just sort of, because he doesn't know what the fuck's going on, breaks the lock, lets Hank out. He is then very aggressively chastised by Lucy because Hank's a bad guy, right? And so Maximus goes to attack Hank, who gets inside some power armor and, like, one taps the poor guy. Bangs his head real hard, knocks him out cold.
the next head trauma Maximus receives.
He's just getting rocked. In the meantime, the ghoul makes his appearance at the Griffith Observatory. In one of the darkest yet best lit battle sequences, Game of Thrones showrunners take fucking notes.
They can't. They don't do that anymore.
Well, they should be thrown out. It's an incredible sequence in which one obscenely dope ghoul takes out a whole fucking squad of dudes in power armor and their fucking sidekicks, and just wreaks havoc. So then, God damn it. Then the ghoul gets to the room where Hank is in the power armor, and he's shouting at Lucy and trying to manipulate her as best he can, and it's not working. He discovers Hank's identity, basically, shoots at him, and we get yet more context to the fact that Coop, as the ghoul, was never really hunting Moldaver, but he kind of was. What Coop was looking for was Lucy's dad. The whole time, he's been looking for Hank McClane because he recognized the last name from the guy he met the day he found out Vault-Tec was going to obliterate the world.
Because Lucy's dad's kind of a Cooper fanboy.
Huge Cooper fanboy, or at least he was back in 2077. So Lucy disowns Hank. The ghoul attacks Hank. Hank fucks off. Like, bails out of there, disappears over the horizon. The ghoul believes his family to still be alive. He thinks his wife and child are still out there somewhere, and he thinks that the way to find them is to track down Hank and make him talk.
Because basically, if Hank's alive, then his family could be alive.
Correct. So he invites Lucy to go with him and Dogmeat to find the rest of Vault-Tec's leaders. Lucy mercy kills her mom, who is basically a shell of a human and just suffering. And takes the ghoul up on his offer. Moldaver makes her appearance, fires up the cold fusion reactor, and lights up all of Los Angeles through witchcraft and pseudoscience technology.
And then dies next to her friend.
And then dies next to Rose from wounds sustained in battle. Maximus wakes up after everyone's gone. Dane shows up immediately. That's his friend, if you recall, who takes in the situation so fucking fast and makes incredible social maneuvers to convince the rest of the Brotherhood as they show up that Maximus killed Moldaver, the enemy leader, and heralds him as a hero. They promote him to knight on the spot. And the episode ends, and after the credits, or maybe mid-credit roll, we get a flash to Hank finally making it to where he was trying to get to, which was not Vault 33. He was going to a city that you might be a little familiar with if you've played the Fallout games, and you should still be familiar with, even if you aren't familiar with the Fallout games, due to some choice landmarks displayed. He arrives at New Vegas in the mid-credit roll in the season finale, implying that season 2 is going to take part, at least somewhat, in Fallout New Vegas, which is fucking sick. So that's the end of the show. To be honest, this is like a top 5 television show I've ever seen. They got Todd Howard from Bethesda to be a huge influence on the show. He's an executive producer. He wanted to make this show within the Fallout universe and within the Fallout canon without stepping on the storylines of any prior Fallout entity. So everything that happens in this show should be taken to be canon. And as a result, like, it's kind of fucking crazy.
There's also lots of theories, because one thing that's doesn't seem canon if you know anything about Fallout, and I only know this from my brief Googling I did when I was Googling who dropped the bombs, there's theories that it somewhat proves, like, the canon more so, Vault-Tec's little plan about dropping the bombs, but that they think it'll be discussed more so what exactly went down, because we don't actually see Vault-Tec drop the bombs. We just hear that that's their plan.
Right.
They think that'll be a bigger plot point come future seasons of who actually dropped the bombs, because we don't actually know. Actually.
It was definitely Vault-Tec. So the cast is incredible. The fucking SFX department is incredible. We do know for a fact that for almost all of the little props and stuff that you might recognize from in-game,
Set dressing.
the set dressing, yes, that is all direct from Bethesda's files of in-game props. And they literally just sent over all the files on all their props from all the games to the studios, who then were able to recreate them exactly as they are in the video games. So for the hardcore fans, when you watch the show and you see stuff that just like tickles the little excited part of your brain and makes you go, oh, that's so cool that I see that and I recognize that. They literally copy pasted half the set dressing from the games into the show. And that's just such a good way to go about doing it.
And if you don't want to do the Easter egg hunt yourself, or you're just not that into Fallout, so you can't, I'm going to shout them out again. I think I did this in one of our previous TV reviews, but New Rockstars, that channel, does an excellent job of just kind of Oh no, it was for Dune. New Rockstars does an excellent job of just kind of breaking it down and showing you where they all are. So go hop over there, give them some love. They're another YouTube channel, and it really does just it for those of you that aren't like don't have all the lore that you need to understand the series. It's a really great way to like wrap it up and make it understandable. Same with Dune. It really I watched the Dune part 2 or I watched the Dune 2 one after we wrapped that episode, and I wish I'd watched it before we recorded the episode because it does. It makes a lot more sense if you don't have all that background knowledge to have someone just point out and go, this is what this is what that is, and help you out a little bit.
So I would rate the show higher than I think the average is on IMDb. I would give this show like an easy 9 out of 10, maybe a little bit higher. But that's just me. It's right up my alley. There's just the right amount of humor. There's just the right amount of hyperviolence. The effects are all incredible. The plot lines are believable and interesting. Nothing is boring about it. There's in a lot of TV shows, you can wind up having filler episodes, especially in like some really long form shows with like 20, 25 episode seasons. With this show being around 8 and change hours of content, you're not really left with any filler episodes. You're not really left with any episodes that you could be like, I don't need to see it. Every episode has progression. Every episode has new and interesting things to see, to listen to watch. The credit sequences are all fucking incredible works of art. It's just a really, really good show. I so strongly recommend it. Walton Goggins puts on a fucking incredible performance. I'm sure he'll be snubbed during awards season for some reason, but he just puts the work in to make this show so good. And they all do, honestly, but Walton Goggins does an especially good job, I think.
I'll say that for me, I'm probably going to agree with IMDb. It was probably an 8.5 out of 10. I don't think it was bad by any means, but I think I missed some of that like deep love, just not being a huge Fallout fan in the first place. But it's a really good show, and we've watched at least parts of it multiple times now. So
I've watched the first 4 episodes twice.
So yeah, it's good.
It's really good. Highly recommend. If you have Amazon, it's available on Prime. If you don't have Amazon, you definitely know someone who does. And if you don't know someone who does, what rock do you live under? I would also like to live there.
Get me out of Jeffrey Bezos's pocket, please.
We can expect season 2 coming in the next couple years. I expect they confirmed a season 2 was coming right around the release date of season 1. So we're definitely in for some more Fallout wonderful goodness. I am so excited to go to New Vegas and deal with the characters and stuff that exist there. And that's going to do it for us on the second half of the Fallout season.
I also don't think we'll be having another TV review unless something random pops up, probably until August, I think. So, should be some movies from now until then.
Enjoy them.
Enjoy them. Enjoy our TV reviews. If you like them, we'll do more of them.
Tell all your friends.
Like and subscribe. Or review. Or whatever you do wherever you listen to this thing.
And wherever podcasts are found, that's where you are right now.
Also, shout out to our new listeners in like California and Georgia. Welcome. Hi, how you doing? And yeah. Bye. What? I did it for when we got listeners overseas. Might as well do it for the Cali and Georgia people.
Sure.
We did it for Oregon, too. Why are you getting all sassy over there? Shaking your head.
This is weird.
I'm trying to do the YouTube thing. Where we like, subscribe, do stuff. I don't know if anyone can hear that because James is messing with the mic right now. For reasons, because I don't know why he's doing it right now and not when we finish.
It's so that you can futz with the keyboard.
We can do that after.
Well, fuck me, I guess. Shit.
You've just never done that. Now the mic is really far away, and I'm having to like yell.
Just
to get...
project. You have a stage voice. You're
I
an actor.
have a stage voice, but YouTube doesn't like it when we don't have the proper audio settings as it is, sir. Quote unquote from YouTube. We have it exactly set up the way they want to, but they don't like it for some reason. Yeah. Until next time. Whenever that is.
Okay, bye.